Hi everyone. So I don't want anyone to look like this year at year-end close. So that's what we're going to having this seminar for, is to get you through all the bumps and bruises that happen. And the best way to do that is prepare for it. So the goals for the session are to learn what happens during the year-end close, learning at least one thing you did not know before, and becoming better prepared for a successful year-end close. I'm going to run through the slide deck first, and then I'm going to go and we'll actually look at the windows that we would be using as we go through the processes here. So the agenda is we're going to touch on U.S. payroll and Canadian payroll updates and changes. We're not going to get very deep into it because we could spend quite a bit of time just on the payroll year-end close, and we only have an hour, so we'll touch on it and kind of show you where you need to go to get some information. Then we're going to cover inventory control, receivables management, payables management, fixed assets, analytical accounting, and general ledger, and then just some tips and tricks that we've learned along the way. Okay. So for our payroll customers, we need to do a payroll year-end closing. GP 10 and 2010 are both supported for right now. There is no year-end tax update for version 9. The release dates right now, the 2012 year-end tax update is available now for download. The 2013 tax update round 1 should be available soon. I just don't have a specific date on it yet. You can check customer source though to find out when it's available. And then we'll look at the year-end closing checklist. So some of the things that are new, or what's going on with the year-end payroll tax updates: there are no W-2 or W-3 form changes. The EFW-2, there are some changes for the electronic filing. There's also 2013 new Medicare taxes on higher earners. There was a product quality fix around payroll year-end. I believe this is just for GP 2010. The 1099 DIV and the 1099 miscellaneous, this is something that's important to both payroll and payables users. There was some movements of the changes of the fields and the changes in heights of the fields. So even if you're not using payroll, you may want to download this update for year-end, just so that you have the changes to the form, so that it prints on the new forms correctly. Okay. And then luxury auto maximum depreciation deduction amounts have been updated to comply with the IRS guidelines. So all that information is available on these downloads. So the process for the payroll year-end closing is to install the 2012 year-end tax updates, or download and install the tax updates for 10 and 2010. You can see customer source, and for 10 and 2010 the year-end updates include Service Pack 4 for GP 10. You want to complete all of your 2012 pay runs, verify your period end reports, and then make a pre-year-end wage file backup. You're going to hear backup a lot today. So you're going to create the year-end wage file, which you'll go through tools, routines, payroll, year-end closing. Then you'll make a post-year-end wage file backup. So what that does is the year-end wage file is the year-end wage report. You can edit and print your W-2s and create your W-2 electronic files. After that is complete, then you want to install your 2013 payroll tax updates that you can download from customer source. And like I said, well, after we run through these slide decks, I'll start back through and we'll show you where those are on customer source. Your inventory year-end control. When do I run it? The inventory module should be closed at the end of the fiscal year before any new transactions affecting quantities are posted. Inventory apparently is not date sensitive as much as some of the other modules are, so you want to make sure that you run that before you do any new transactions for the 2013 year. And so if you're keeping transaction history, the year-end close will transfer all summarized current year quantities, costs, and sales amounts to last year, and then move last year into life to date. The beginning quantities from quantity on hand are updated for each site, and the quantity sold field is zeroed out. So, and now is also the time to clean up your inventory, remove discontinued items, sold receipts, sold lot attributes, and update the item's standard costs. So how do I get started? There's always that B word. You're going to hear that a lot. The B doesn't stand for, blow it off to next year. It means back up. Enter and post all your POs, sales orders, and inventory transactions for the current year. Reconcile sales order processing, purchase order processing, then invoicing, or inventory, I'm sorry. You can print a historical inventory trial balance and review the inventory year-end checklist. The next subject is receivables year-end management, and you want to run this calendar year close. It should be done at the end of the calendar year before posting any transactions into the next calendar year. This is most important if you do charge finance charges on your to your customers. Fiscal year-end close should be done at the end of the fiscal year before posting transactions into the next fiscal year. Again, the finance charges are kind of key here. Finance charges are cleared from the year-to-date and moved to last year in the customer finance charge summary that's under cards sales summary finance charges. And then when you close the fiscal year, the finance charge, all amounts other than that calendar year-to-date are moved into amounts since last close view. So your total sales, credits, payments, things like that, they all move into the calendar or into the last year and life-to-date columns. Again, you want to back up your database before you do any of these processes so that if you have anything go wrong, you can always restore the backup. So again, you want to back up. Then you want to enter and post all receivables transactions for the current year. You want to reconcile receivables management and then review the receivables year-end checklist. On payables management, the calendar year-end should be done before posting transactions into the next calendar year. And the fiscal year-end should be done at the end of the fiscal year before posting transactions into the next fiscal year. It's a little more date sensitive now, so with payables, so you can actually post into the new year. It is date sensitive. So the calendar year-end close moves your 1099 amounts from year-to-date to last year and the amounts since last close in the vendor yearly summary window. And then it takes last year and moves it into life-to-date. The fiscal year-end close moves all other amounts. So when you close the calendar year, the only thing you're moving in there is your 1099 information. Everything else stays in there. When you close your fiscal year-end, it moves all of the other amounts because they could be two different dates. I know that many of you are on a calendar year. You can close both at the same time, but it's not necessary. But can I hold up my payables? You can create batches of payables. I would just say don't post them until you get the year-end close done. but you can certainly put them in there and get them going. Again, with this closing, we're going to do the B word, which is backup. Enter and post all receivables transactions for the current year. You can reconcile your payables management, and then we'll review the payables year-end checklist. Fixed assets. Fixed assets needs to be closed after payables, but before general ledger. General ledger is the last thing you're going to close. So, and if you have more than one book, you can close them separately. I have seen other companies, I know that it may be different in GP 2013. They may have worked on this a little bit. I haven't seen it yet, but I know that once you close the year for fixed assets, it's hard to go back and get reports and things like that on them. So make sure that you do a backup of this before you close it and keep that backup. So if you do need to restore it in a test environment or something, you can do that in the test environment if you need to run any of your reports for last year. So what happens here is the year-to-date maintenance amount is removed. Quantity is copied to the beginning quantity field. Quantity is copied to the beginning quantity field. Year-to-date depreciation amount is removed. The cost basis is copied to the begin year cost. Life-to-date depreciation is copied to begin reserve. Salvage is copied to begin salvage. And increases the current fiscal year by 1 year for each book. So that's under Cards, Fixed Assets, General Book. Once again, make a backup, save this backup before you close fixed assets, and you might want to put on there that it's a fixed asset pre-backup, something like that, so that if you need to restore it again, you can restore it over top of a test company and get reports out that you might need. So you want to print all the reports that you need. Depreciation must be taken to the last day of the year before closing the year. And then you'll run and review the fixed asset checklist. So analytical accounting has a year-end close process. This is an optional close. It's new for GP 2010, SP2, and later. AA closes with the GL when the option is set up. Review your company options and decides what's best for your company. So when all is said and done and you've completed the close for all the other modules, you're ready. So what happens during the general ledger year-end close is it moves your P&L account balances to the retained earnings account. It summarizes the balance sheet accounts and brings the balances forward as the beginning balances of the account in the new fiscal year. It'll close to a retained earnings or divisional retained earnings account. The account history and transaction history are updated, and year-end reports print. So the next steps of the close, again, backups are your BFF. You want to confirm your retained earnings account setup. You want to confirm the posting account types. You can easily set this up as a way to make sure that your posting account types are set up correctly. If you have added new expense accounts and you forgot to change it from balance sheet to profit and loss, those accounts will not close out. They'll roll forward. And so it's very important that you check that out. And you can actually create a smart list and to double check those pretty quickly. And I'll show you how to do that when we get over to the Great Plains side of things. Okay, and then you want to confirm that your fiscal period is set up for the new year. And then you want to perform general ledger file maintenance. And we'll review the general ledger checklist. So some of the tips and tricks along the way. Number one, make a what? We want to make a backup. Just want to make sure that everything is backed up. And with that, I'm going to go over into my Great Plains. And just kind of show you down through where we were doing some of these items here. Okay, and I'm going to start with the inventory year-end close. So in that case, you would be coming over here into inventory. You want to make sure that you post all your transactions for the year. You reconcile your inventory quantities. Okay, you want to complete a physical inventory count and then post any adjustments. You want to print any additional reports, perform a backup, and then close the year. Oh, somebody kicked me out of the system. Sorry. I'll have to get back in there. Nice. So you're going to close the year, close the fiscal periods for the inventory series, which is optional, and then perform a final backup. Okay. I apologize for this. Okay. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to first go into the utilities and you want to reconcile your inventory quantity items. So you're going to go into utilities, reconcile, and then you'll just, if you want to do all of them, you can do all of them and say process. And then what this will do is it'll reconcile your inventory quantities. And when that is done and you've done the printed any reports, made a backup, then you would come up to close the year. You go to your routines, year-end close, and you can remove discontinued items, sold lot attributes, sold receipts and cost changes, and history prior to, and you would want to put a cutoff date into there. And then you can also update your items standard cost if you would like to during this process of closing the year end for inventory. So when you've got all of these items checked, you hit process and go ahead and run that, and then it'll close out your year for inventory. Not too difficult. Okay, the next one that we're going to look at is your receivables year-end close. And so in the sales section here, receivables management is date sensitive. However, there's some items that are updated on the actual closing date of the module, and they are the smart list objects, receivables management summary reports, and amount since last close view in the customer summary window. One other thing I forgot to touch on is normally when you're closing these modules, you want to have your date set to the last day of the year, not using today's date. So what I would suggest you do if you're going to close a module is change your user date to the end of the year. So that when you close, it's all going to be the right closing date will show up when you're looking at things. So the steps that you're going to follow on this are to post all your sales and receivables transactions for the year. You can print an age trial balance with options report, make a pre-year-end closing backup, close the year, and by doing that you're going to go to routines, year-end close, and you can see that you're going to choose whether you want to close both fiscal and calendar if they are the same, and then you could also, you can see how this was run once before and the calendar year was closed on 4/12/2017 because that's the date that defaults in for this sample company. So the date that you run this is the date that's going to put in here. That's why I was saying it's very important to put in your actual closing date. Or make sure that you're on your actual closing date when you run this report. And then you can actually print the report if you'd like to. It's not necessary, but you can print it. Okay. And then another thing is you can change the tax year if needed. That's under Tools. Tools, Routines, Company, and Tax Year End Close. For those people that are using the sales tax to calculate sales tax through Great Plains for their year-end or for their invoicing out. Okay, and then when you're all done with that, you want to do a post-year-end closing backup. And I would keep all of these backups if you can, if it's possible, until you're sure that the module is closed correctly and there's nothing you have to do to go back and make any changes. Okay. The next one we're going to look at is payables. And so with payables, you know, we have those 1099 type things in there. And payables is also date sensitive. There's some items that are actually updated on the module. Again, the smart list objects, the payables management summary reports, the amount since last close, and the vendor yearly window. So what you want to do is you want to go through and post all of your transactions, post all of your batches that you have for the current fiscal year or the current calendar year. You can go ahead and print an age trial balance with options report. You can print the vendor period analysis report. I'll go down to these reports here. Okay, so you can print your age trial balance with options. Again, if you're not familiar with this, the age trial balance report, if you run this one, it doesn't allow you to restrict it, and you will get all of your vendors, even if they don't have anything open or if you haven't used them in a long time. So if you do the one with options and you open that up, you can tell it to exclude zero balance, no activity type vendors so that they don't clutter up your list. If you're doing this further down the road and you want to make sure that you have one for 12/31/2012, you can run the historical age trial balance. Again, that allows you to restrict it and restrict the date on it that you want to run this as of. Okay. Then the vendor analysis report that they're suggesting that you run is just, you can run a summary period. These are all of these types of reports that you can run. Okay. Then the next thing you want to do is you want to install that pre-year-end wage, the pre-year-end update, because of the fact that things have changed with the W-2 or the W-4 form for your 1099, not W-4, sorry, your 1099 miscellaneous form has changed. So you want to make sure that you download that from the website and apply that before closing your year. Okay. So you want to install the year-end update. Then you want to make a backup that is named pre-1099 edits. You want to verify the amounts, the 1099 amounts, and edit if required. So if you're going to do that, you can come in here into Routines. You can look at your Print 1099s, and you can get an edit list by clicking over here. And it will show you all of the 1099 vendors that you need to have for that are going to print on there. If you need to make any changes to your 1099 amounts for your vendors, you can come up here under Cards, 1099 Details, pick the vendor, the tax type, And you can display the month or the year, and you can manually override and put in the amounts here and save these. And just make sure that the year that it's pulling for is the correct one. If you're going to put a whole year's worth in, you could bring it over to year. It won't let you change it, so you're going to have to do it in a month. So you can see the year altogether over here, but they would prefer that you put it in for each month, whatever the amount was for each month. If you're just coming into the system partway through the year, say you've got January to June that are not in here, you could actually change this date to June and put the first 6 months in for your amount. As long, and then anything that's been entered since that time will automatically be there. And if you have a vendor that you didn't realize was a 1099 and now you do realize they're a 1099, you would go into the vendor card, change their tax type, you would go to options, change their tax type here, put in their tax ID number, and then they'll be available in that 1099 details window to make changes to. Okay, so once you get that done, you're going to come down to the routines and print your 1099s. Most cases you'll have to fill in your federal taxpayer ID number when you're running these, and make sure the company, this is for companies that have multiple companies in one database. This is what allows you to change this and run your 1099s for each company that's involved if they have different federal tax ID numbers. And most of the time you want to do it on a single feed sheet, and you can just simply put the paper in the printer. When you hit print, it will print that whole batch of pages. Then you put the next form in and run the print, and just leave this window open and hit the print button again. It will print the next series of papers. The continuous usually only works when you're dealing with the dot matrix printers, and those aren't too readily available anymore. Okay, when all of those are done, you want to do your year-end close. And you can close, again, your fiscal or your calendar. Based on the date that you're doing here, you would hit close year. And then you just perform another backup that the post-year-end closing for payables. And it'll take care of payables. Your fixed asset year-end close. Under financial, you want to perform a pre-checklist year-end backup, close backup. Perform all your year-end closing procedures. Oh, this got messed up. Enter all fixed asset transactions for the current year. Depreciate all assets to the last date of the current year. Perform the GL posting, which is the GL interface, which is optional. Let's see. So your GL posting is here. You want to run any year-end reports that you want to keep as part of the year-end financial records. Confirm that the fixed asset calendar is built correctly. Verify that the quarters are set up correctly for all the fiscal years. You want to perform a pre-fixed asset close backup, which is what we talked about. Make sure you keep that one. Perform the fixed asset year-end closing routine under the fixed routines year-end, and you can see that there's different books that are available in here. I could insert all of them and close them all at once, or I could close some and leave some open and do them one at a time. So the note is here that you want to verify that the fiscal year displayed for each book is the current fiscal year that you're closing. Okay, the payroll year-end close. Keep in mind that if you're running any version of Great Plains lower than version 10, you'll not be able to get the payroll tax updates, and you may have problems obtaining magnetic media automatically. It will need to be manually keyed unless you upgrade. So for payroll, you would want to perform a pre-checklist year-end close backup. Verify the version of Dynamics that you're on, and you can do that by going up here to the Help menu, About Dynamics, and it tells you what version you're on. And a bunch of other things. And then you want to complete all your pay runs for the current year, complete all your monthly and quarterly payroll and period procedures for the current year, perform a backup of the original file. You want to install those year-end updates obtained from Customer Source, and they need to be installed on each workstation if you're in a setup where you are, when you have Great Plains installed locally. Then you want to create the year-end file. It's all under here. So you got your year-end wage report. You can edit, you can verify the W-2 and 1099-R items that you need to do. If you need to edit your 1099-Rs, you could do it in this window. If you need to edit your W-2s, you can do it in this window, and you can see how it's going to show up the information here after you create the year-end wage backup or the year-end wage report. So then if it's there, you can create your magnetic media file. You can archive the inactive employees and human resources information, which is optional. You want to set up your fiscal periods for 2013. You want to close the fiscal periods for the payroll series for 2012, and then install the payroll tax updates for 2013. Now there is a slight difference in procedure if you must process 2013 pay runs before you complete the year-end procedures, and if you contact us at clientcare@omnivue.net if you need the information. But you want to make sure that you do not install the payroll tax update for 2013 until the year-end file has been created. It's very important. Okay, so when all that is done, now we're ready for our general ledger close. And the general ledger closes, you want to make sure that you've completed the posting procedures and the closing procedures of all the other modules that we've gone through. And the order that we did them in is the order that you should do them in. Inventory, receivables, payables, fixed assets, and then in general ledger. Payroll is off on its own anyway because that has a calendar year-end close. But so they don't have to, the payroll and the GL can be closed different times. So you want to post any final adjusting entries to the general ledger. You want to print an account list to verify the type of each balance sheet or P&L, or use a smart list. And this is where I was talking about using a smart list. And in smart list, under your financial and accounts, you can create a smart list here that has, you can see how it has the posting type of balance sheet and account category and the account number. So what you can do is you can actually create your own searches, and you can say, I want to check where my account number, actually I want to change it to where my main account, and you can add fields here that you don't see in the columns by going to all columns. So I want to see my account that is greater than or less than greater than 4,000, and the posting type is equal to balance sheet. Because if I see accounts that are greater than 4,000 in their balance sheet, they're wrong, and I need to fix them. Okay, so I'm going to run this account, and what you'll see is we do have some of these that are set up as balance sheet that are wrong. So we have some project billings that got added, and they are under sales. They're a sales account, and they're a balance sheet type. So these would not have closed when we ran this year-end close. So the thing you want to do then is you want to just double-click on this, change it to profit and loss, and save it, and close that out. Once you refresh this, it'll refresh that whole section there for you. The ones where your account category number is 0, these are unit accounts. And if you need help with whether or not you want to close out your unit accounts or whether you want those things to roll forward, there's information on that on Customer Source, or else you can call us here at clientcare@omnivue.net, and we'll help you with that too. Okay, so this is just some of those the things that you're going to find on that. So this is I can save this as a favorite, and I'll say balance sheet wrong type, and I'll add this as a favorite. And then I can basically do the opposite, where I can say that the account is less than 4,000, and the posting type is equal to profit and loss, because those should all be balance sheets. Okay, and I don't have any. So that means that my balance sheet accounts that are there already are correct. I don't have any balance or any P&L accounts in the balance sheet area, or the other way around. I don't have any balance sheets that are in the profit and loss area. Okay, so that's number one, because that's probably the number one call we get in support is I closed the year, but this account balance didn't move over. So if you just run those quick little things, you can fix all that and avoid that problem that you have. Okay, so and then you can go into your fiscal periods, your company fiscal periods, and you can close financial in this section here. These other ones should all be closed for all your periods. They can or they can't. They don't have to be, but it's it's one of the steps that you can do. You want to perform file maintenance on the financial series group of modules. You want to verify the settings in the general ledger window. So we go back into financial, set up. So you want to make sure that if you're going to close to divisional retained earnings, then the division is the main segment. This is the account that you're going to be doing this in. So you have to make sure that that is set up. Otherwise, it has to have at least one retained earnings account for all of the items to go to. So then you want to perform a database backup. You can print a detailed trial balance report, even if it's sent out to text. So under your reports, you go to trial balance, and you can do a detailed trial balance. Copy that over and print that off. You can print your year-end financial statements. You would set up a new fiscal year, which I believe you might be already, some of you might already have the new fiscal year set up. But to do that, you want to go to fiscal periods, and we'll set up 2019 since we're so far ahead on this one. So if I go 2019 and I hit tab, it automatically fills in the first day and the last day of the year that it expects me to want to do. I can hit calculate. And now if you're on, this is for a calendar year with 12 periods. If you're on a 4-week 13 period, you could change this to 13, and it will recalculate that information for you. You can also override these dates. So if you're on a fiscal year that is 4-week, 4-week, 5-week, you can set the starting date of each period here. You can also change the period names and type in the actual names of the months if you'd like to when you set up that year. But that's how easy it is to just set up the new year. Now what I would suggest, and what I've seen a lot of customers do, is as soon as they set up this new year, they hit close all. And they leave these closed until they're ready to use them. And then you can come in here and decide which ones you want to open up so that nobody can post into new periods. That way if somebody slips on the date or something, it won't allow them to post to it. Okay, so then the next thing you want to do is you want to close all the periods for the fiscal periods. We've done that. You can adjust any budgets for the new year, and then you want to actually go in here to your financial routines and do your year-end closing. So you can see that this is from our setup from the retained earnings and the general ledger setup. So it brought this in. The starting journal entry number for the new year is there. You can also opt to remove unused segment numbers during this time. So if you've been copying, doing mass copies of account numbers, and just to make sure that they're all there, you can actually click this box that will remove any unused segment numbers that you haven't used throughout the year and help clean up your accounts. And then your last closing date is just when was the last time this was actually run. So you would want to close year, and when you close the year, it'll roll all of your numbers over, and it will do the journal entry for your year-end rollover. Okay, and then you want to, after you get this closed, then you want to perform an archived backup for the year-end close. And then you're done. Now some things you want to keep in mind are, in your general ledger setup, if you've closed 2012 and you still need to do adjusting journal entries, you'll still be allowed to post to them, as long as this allow posting to history is checked. And if you maintain accounts and transactions history. So a lot of people will, because if you don't close general ledger, when you go to run balance sheet accounts, balance sheet reports, the amounts haven't rolled over, so you'll only see the activity for the current year. So one of the things that you can do is go ahead and close the year, and you'll still be allowed to post to history 1 year back. So if you close 2012, you will not be allowed to close or post to 2011 anymore, but you can still post to 2012. And when you do this, it will actually reclose the year at the same time. So say if you had to accrue accounts payable and some expenses for year end, when you put that entry into 12/31/2012, and you have your balance sheet and your expense accounts, when you see the journal entry printout, it's going to have that entry, plus it's going to have the closing entry that rolls those expense accounts into retained earnings all at the same time. So it automatically self-closes. Do not try to close your year again. You'll only close it for the current year. So you don't want to run that. So that's why they allow the posting to history, and that's what you could do with that. So let's go over to the website here. Now I'm in Partner Source, but we can look at the customer source is very similar. So I went over here and I went to the Dynamics GP 2010 solution. There are here's your service pack, hot fixes, things like that for your product releases. Usually it's right on the front page of the of that. It's going. Okay, customer source. And of course you need your Windows Live ID. Okay. So what I did is I went over here to products and went to Dynamics GP, because in mine I see all of the different products. Yours may only come up to the GP window when you log in. So they have a lot of different things here. You can also see the recent knowledge base articles, how to continue a check run, the year-end closing for payables, the year-end closing for general ledger. These types of things are right here on the main page. So you can also go to support, knowledge base, or you can go to hot fixes or service packs is usually where I would go to find this. And we'll go into Dynamics GP. You can pick your version. '10 or 2010. Okay, and you can see that's right here. It actually brought me to both of them. So here's your service packs and hotfixes for GP10, because I know some of you are on there. And you can see some of these that are available here. Let me just go over here to this one. Okay, and so here are some of the hotfixes. This is not what I was looking for. Okay, so here's your 2012 U.S. year-end payroll U.S. year-end update. This includes that that service pack that's going to help you with your 1099 form changes right here. So this is the one you would want to download here, and just run that against your system, and it has information. It has all of the how to do it, things like that are here. So okay. So now we're kind of to the Q&A section of this, and again, we're going to have a recording of the presentation available on youtube.com under the OmniVue channel. And so I want to thank everyone for attending. And if you have any questions, again, it's clientcare@omnivue.net. Okay, let me just see if I have any questions here. Okay. If anyone has any questions, they can certainly go raise your hand. There's a little raise your hand so that I can see if you have any questions, or you can type it into the chat or into the questions section. Okay, I did have one question that someone asked. If I already made a cash entry in the new year, do I need to reverse it and re-enter after the year-end close? I asked if it was made in a bank transaction entry or AR. It was made in bank transaction entry. It does not affect AR, just cash and prepaids. So that will not affect it. It's as long as it posts in 2013, it's not going to close it. It's going to go by the posting date for general ledger. Okay, and then one of the questions we had was, do I print my 2012 1099 forms before I close year end? And then they told me to disregard it. But yes, you can print those before you do your year end. For the calendar, again, that's only the calendar year end. Only the calendar year end is affected by, affects your 1099 amounts. Are there any other questions? Courtney, do you want to take over again?
Sure. I just wanted to thank you all, everybody that participated today. Make sure I remind you that if you do have any questions, you can always reach out to me. This presentation will have my contact information as well as Deborah's and Mark McClung's. And